So coming into chapter 408, it's starting to feel like a mini Greed Island with all the games and teams playing against each other from different corners of the ship, especially because, right now we're in this weird card game between Borkson and Morena. And speaking of that, we started in the previous chapter, but now it's beginning with Borkson's appearance looking slightly different from that previous chapter. And it makes me wonder, do people become more childlike when they're the child in the game? But anyway, the first card she chooses is the Purpose card, the one that allows Borkson to know why Morena brought her there, and what she's planning to do. But as she grabs it, she starts small talk, which confuses Borkson, who thought this would be a stricter game. However, Morena agrees that Borkson can chat with her while they play. So Borkson immediately tries to get the Yokotani and an unknown female to answer something, which they won't. Morena has made sure that they won't. Still, Borkson believes there's around 50 members in the Hail Lee, and since she can't ask questions outside of using cards, Borkson decides not to answer any of Morena's questions either. I mean, it's only fair. This gets Morena to compromise by allowing a question for every answer Borkson gives. Even without getting a response earlier, she can tell from the reactions that the Hail Lee aren't as many members, likely around 25 instead. And then we get into the actual game. Morena doesn't lie and explicitly says she wants to get rid of Kakin. And after that, she wants to destroy humanity as a whole. A pretty ambitious goal. But after that, we get a little comedic pause, not unlike some exchanges between Gon and the troop. But it's just nice to get a break in tension sometimes, because this is a very tension-filled arc. But basically, Borkson has no idea what that purpose is or why Morena wants to accomplish it just from these two statements alone. Of course, she'd ask for more details, especially since she's needed to accomplish it. Thanks to that, we get some Morena backstory, which I'm sure everybody was waiting for, right? So she mentions the fact about royals who don't have the right to the throne. Someone like her, we assumed. But she says the true Morena is in her grave, and she's not even royal in blood. Two new terms are actually given to us in this sequence: carnival and blasphemy. The carnival refers to the Kakin Empire choosing a village every few years and basically holding a ditty party, to put it lightly. They also separate the people there into those who serve and others. This could also be pronounced as carnival, or maybe other translations will just have a different word entirely, but it all means the same thing. As for blasphemy, that's basically a way for the Kakin Empire to control its citizens and the births from the bloodline. It was stricter before, since people lower in rank would be killed for looking at the royals or directly talking to them. But now it's moved on to contraception, or anything involving the children of Kakin blood being tampered with. In the past, Morena's mom was made to serve during a Kakin banquet for days and without any rest. She passed away when Morena was 2 years old, not even aware that she had a child with her from that time. Because of that, Morena is considered a festival orphan, someone who has royal blood in her, but more like a bastard child. That's also why her face is slashed that way, to distinguish her from the true Kakin children. But as if that wasn't enough, the orphans get sent to a facility managed by the Hail Lee family, used mainly for trafficking people, and also disposing of the mothers like Morena's who were abused to death. In that facility, they're split between the children who are royal but unworthy of the throne, and those who are quote-unquote meat. Guess which one she is? For 20 years, Morena was treated like garbage and put through hell because of that designation. She then was lucky enough, or through power of will, to take control of the Hail Lee as a whole. This whole time, Borkson can't say anything because what could you say? It's a truly horrible way to have lived, and the Kakin Empire are made even more into monsters than they were before. On the plus side though, Morena started working on her abilities during those 20 years, so now she knows she'd be able to overthrow Kakin thanks to that. And as she's been doing that while being classified as a child from the 98 group, 7 more batches of orphan children have been put through the same horrific experience. The most recent group of children arrived in 20, which was a year after Kakin held a major festival to show their advancement in democracy and how they've changed, which clearly, they haven't. But as we know, Morena can't topple an empire on her own. and that's why she recruits so many to her cause, and that's also why she needs Borksen's ability as well. But the answer we, and Borksen, want most can't be answered with just the purpose card. But anyway, Orarge, or however you say this person's name, breaks up the game to shuffle the cards and places them face down for Mirena's turn. As agreed, Borksen can choose the cards on her side, but she can't see it beforehand, so she slides it over to Mirena. Thankfully, it's a Joker card, which can be both yes and no, so it doesn't change much in the long run. Back to Borksen, she chooses the power card next, and Mirena visibly blushes, happy that Borksen is asking about her plans and abilities, specifically before anything else. Whether it's an act to let Borksen's guard down, or she genuinely feels pleased that someone is interested in her, who could say? But I do know some people have started shipping these two since this chapter. I'm not saying it's you guys in the comments, but more so people on the outside spectrum of social media, if you know what I mean. But anyway, seeing as Borksen is a complete novice when it comes to Nen abilities, Mirena has to explain from the very top. Borksen compares them to psychic abilities, and even mentions them being used in the Succession War. So her understanding is as basic as it gets, really. Especially since that doesn't take into account people like Gon or Uvogin, who enhance their bodies, and didn't move outside objects and such like a psychic would. Mirena agrees that it would be like psychic powers, with the difference being that anyone can learn Nen abilities through enough and the proper training. Some people can even help others to awaken their abilities with their own, which Mirena is able to. With that out of the way, it's time to get into what Mirena's Nen can do. So she explains that it's an ability to grant those with the same goal as her power, and it can expand through her Nen ability too. She's designated as the parent, like this game, and can offer power to 22 children at most. Then, when a child reaches a certain level of power, they become a parent of their own, freeing up a spot for Mirena to add someone else as a child. Not to mention, the adults she creates with this can make children as well. Mirena compares it to a pyramid scheme, but it's probably more so how society works as a whole, I guess. Especially since Mirena can help the graduated children by helping to reach their goals too. From the explanation, Borksen can tell that Mirena has manipulated the game to ensure that the two cards she chose would have been picked first. There'd be no way to understand Mirena's goal without knowing her ability as well. But at the same time, wouldn't supporting the members' goals possibly disrupt or interfere with Mirena's goal to take out Kakin? On the inside, Borksen seems to understand Mirena's side, seeing as she doesn't have a great attachment to Kakin, even as a private first class. She joined the military young, without knowing what she was getting into. She loved outside entertainment and culture, even though it wasn't something that she was allowed to do. I mean, she very likely could have been executed for it. I don't want to say that it's like a certain country in the north, but you know. She just wanted to coast on by, living an easy life, and maybe train some students at a military academy. But instead, she's here, on a ship with thousands of people, in the middle of multiple small but deadly conflicts. And now she knows Mirena's plan to wipe out Kakin. She can understand her feelings. It's hard not to, really, but it doesn't mean erasing their existence from the world, and then all of humanity next is, something she agrees with. Mirena only makes it worse for herself by saying that destroying Kakin is only a small goal for her, and that her entire group all want to kill people for different reasons. This is one of the times where being too honest is, for sure harmful, since it convinces Borksen to do everything she can to stop her plan now. And Borksen rightfully asks how Mirena knows that she's the person needed for her plan. She could be using the age-old, "you're special," to convince her to help. But we know that Dogman can sniff out the Nen ability that Mirena's looking for. And it turns out Borksen is a specialist. Dogman's also looking for the other unawakened specialists on board, since it's such a rare and powerful category to be in. Not even 1% of Nen users are specialists, according to Mirena's research. And considering how many people are on the Black Whale, there could be a few dozen others. As far as I know, I think this is the first time that statistic about specialist Nen users is revealed. Also, I don't think that Hal Lee knows about Kurapika and Crollo, who are also, the most iconic specialist users that we currently know of. And I think it's probably a mistake to say that any specialist on the ship who agrees with Marena is good enough, because that would make anyone feel less important. Not to mention, Dogman seems to have sniffed out Chrollo browsing with his hotline phone already. But instead of being discouraged, Borkson asks for information about specialists and what Marena could offer her. Marena explains more about specialists, stuff we all know at this point, and Marena reveals herself to be a part of that category too, since she mixes all categories to enact her ability. But she can't tell Borkson about what would be available to her with this card alone. She'd have to specifically choose the yes card to know what would be expected of her in the Hail Lee for the plan. Ararj shuffles again because one card's going to the graveyard. The next card she slides over is yes, while keeping in mind the time limitation, since Dogman is looking for others. With yes out of the game, Marena seems disappointed, as do the members around the game, but I wouldn't trust this just yet. So with the no card put into play, Borkson can find out what any consequences would be. And as expected, if she chooses no, then she becomes someone that can be hunted down for points, as we've seen Hail Lee members do before. And with her knowing so much about Marena, she would be the first targeted. And the X card just makes the game void. It's different from a direct no because it means the game and all information shared is treated as if it never happened. Borkson would be free to go on her own way, and the Hail Lee wouldn't look for her. But considering the goal, Borkson and her allies eventually would be targeted anyway. So why would X be in the game? Well, because it's used as a restriction of Marena that would allow her to get stronger if Borkson is successful. But the no card also offers death to those who played and ended up with that card last. So those who overcame it survived and became stronger. So now we know if the game ends with no, Borkson will, die. Well, it's more like a confirmation. The X is sent to the graveyard, leaving return and no. But before they can process that, martial law is called on the ship. Something that has been hinted at many times has come to finally pass. Now, as for who called this, well, your guess is as good as mine, I suppose. Let me know in the comments who you think it is. But aside from that, it also is possible that Chrollo might be teaming up with Hail Lee at this point, and that could add into what is going down with this martial law. Also, it's possible that Benjamin or Halkenberg, who maybe switched into his body, although we haven't seen that, just speculation, caused martial law as well. But for sure, from this point on, things are finally going to get insane on this ship, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Again, let me know in the comments who you think it is, and what do you think is going to happen. And if you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.